The very first video I did for our products in or on AutoCAD Architecture was about a year ago, and so this is technically the anniversary of that video. And it was on areas, basically. Got into spaces, using spaces to calculate areas. It is still the most viewed video, and I figured this subject must resonate with a lot of users, so I wanted to go back and do it in much greater detail. So this will be a multi-part series. We're going to start at the very fundamental basic way of doing areas. In fact, I'm going to start with AutoCAD. Just no AutoCAD architecture. Let's just take a look at doing areas in regular AutoCAD, and we'll build up from there. Now, if I just want to take an area of, say, the example on my screen that I just sketched out, let's call it a second floor office space with some egress stairs and an elevator at one end. If I want to take an area of this, just using regular AutoCAD, I would probably just type in RAC, and I would probably decide on what area do I want. So you have BOMA, you have different building code or local jurisdiction requirements. So you have to know, how do they want those areas calculated? These days I'm finding for a lot of my projects I actually have to calculate to the outside face of material. But in this case I'm going to go to the outside stud, which our walls clearly show. So I'll go to the outside stud to outside stud. Okay, so here's a regular rectangle. Nothing fancy. A regular AutoCAD user can draw that. And when I select this, on my properties palette, and I'm down here in area, I'm going to see that area listed in square inches and square feet, depending on how your units have been set in your drawing. But the problem is it'd be nice to have some kind of indication, maybe on the screen or maybe a spreadsheet or something. So let's go one step farther here and actually have it listed somewhere we can keep track of it. So if you type in MT for multi-line text, pick on the screen anywhere you want, do a W, enter, do a 0, enter, and then go ahead and do something like this. Type in total floor area, full colon, space, and then right click, run down to insert field, go to objects in here if it didn't come up by itself, set it to object again down here under field names, pick the bullseye icon here under object type, and select your rectangle. All right, now at the very top here of the property list, you should see area. Notice it's saying polyline, not rectangle. That's because there is really no rectangle object. It's a closed polyline. So that is correct when it says polyline. Over here under preview, it's going to give you the area, but in whatever units you have set here. So if you go to architectural, you may see something like that right here, engineering, scientific, whatever. So architectural is looking good. It's converting that to feet, which is nice. Otherwise, you'd have to do that with your additional format in here, which it's just doing when you click that, which is 1/144, by the way. And notice it's putting in the square feet for you with a little space here. So that's really cool that it does that. Before, I remember at some point I had to just do that manually. I don't remember why I had to. Maybe it wasn't available in whatever early release, but it's here now. And in case you don't know, you can go here, then you can go to format. Then you would type in 1/144 because that's square feet to square inch conversion. 12 times 12 is 144. Then you would do a space here. Then you would type in what you want, square, period, feet. And then you'd probably knock off leading zeros, but maybe not, because you'd have to decide, do you want it to say 0.5 feet or do you want it to say 0.5 square feet? But that's how you would do it manually. Just so I don't mess this up, I'm going to cancel and just pick architectural. I like what they're picking. And the number of zeros, 1 is good. So I like this one here, and I'll hit OK. And I'll just drop out now. So here is my square feet, my total square feet, with a field on it. And so if I adjust that and pull this out another 10 feet, All right, I should see the value change, and it will if I type in RE for regen. So it's approximately 3,600 square feet. So this is a just really fundamental way of doing areas. But if you're not that savvy with AutoCAD architecture, at least know this and use that. And you could actually do rectangles for each space and then just track them all with these. You could copy this down and reassign it. It's a little tedious, but hey, it's a lot better than trying to read it off the side and writing it into Excel. Okay, but let's go a little farther. So I'm going to erase this. Now that we've taken a look at the most crude way of doing areas. So in our product, if I go here to the catalog library, in our general tools, under spaces, at the very bottom or farthest page here, you're going to see that we put in some tools. I have them here on my screen to the left for really fundamental area stuff, just using a little bit of AutoCAD architecture. Because we have noticed that we have clients and we get queries that show that the skill level of some is just not there yet. So take baby steps, it's fine. So here are some tools at the bottom for just some very simplistic way of using a little bit of AutoCAD architecture. So you'll see we put in a rectangle. That's all it is. It's just a rectangle, but it will auto layer. So when you pick that rectangle and repeat the steps, come down and snap it in here, you'll see it on my screen, it turned brown. If you select it, it's going to go to the A area space layer, all right? Because the tool was set to do that here. So if I right click on properties, you'll see that's all it's doing, nothing fancy, but at least it's layering it, so you get that little bit of advantage. Then we created a default tag. So if you use the tag will now put data to that rectangle. So if you select it and go to extended tab, no data. Watch what happens when we use the tag. So use the tag, select the rectangle, and then I'll pop in this data right here, like that. Okay. So what it defaults to is existing entry 01 wood floor, gross area 3279.69. All right. So I'll pick the rectangle, and I'll go over here to the extended data, and you'll see, oh, now it actually has a little bit of AutoCAD architecture to a regular rectangle. Pretty cool. For example, on the status, you can take advantage of what we predefined in here. And by the way, I'm bringing this up and I'm starting here because this, the other things I'm going to talk about build on this very stuff that I'm getting into right now. So we made our areas have basically a status category, and they're all the same. So you can choose between something that's to be demolished, something that needs to be proposed, or you can even say omitted, just don't show it in the schedule. And then there's, I guess, replaced, existing to be replaced. And of course, you could add to this list if you need to. However, this is the list in our schedules. That's all our schedules are. The schedules will only read these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 options. So you'd have to learn about modifying our schedules to make them do more stuff. And then, of course, what is the name here? So the room name can be set from a list. I can call it, well, this is the residential list. We have other lists in here, but I'll just call it, you know what? I'm just going to do a manual override, and I'll just office like that. Then I'm going to go down to the material. I'm going to say something like, what do we have here? Wood, tile, ceramic, porcelain. To be determined. That one's good. Okay. You know what? Let's go make that carpet. Okay. So if it's not in the list, you can type it in. All right. So we've got this guy, and this is, by the way, annotatively scaled. So if you change the scale, let's see, it's a 1/4 inch. If we go to 1/8, it's gonna get big, and you can move it around, do all that cool stuff. Go back to 1/4. All right. So here's the information. Now, what we would like to do is probably schedule that. So I'll go ahead and hit the last tool in this list and select the rectangle, enter, then a schedule will come in. Now this is an AutoCAD architecture schedule. It'll pop in wherever I want to put it at this, set for this scale, and enter. So what we get is just a simple table, but notice status here, because this is something we tied a lot of other things to, so it's important that I discuss and explain the need for doing the status. Now you could probably just go and edit this if you don't like the idea of status in your schedule. You could remove it from the schedule but still have it active as a sorting tool, because watch what happens here. So this is taking care of that. So now I'm going to do another one. I'm going to do two of them. I'm going to do this one here, and I'm going to do one bigger one here. Then I'm going to go ahead and tag these two, this one and this one. Okay, now what's important to me is that I'm going to make this one, I'm going to go over here and set it to demo. So we're going to demolish that portion of the project. I don't care about the, well, let's make the name something different. Let's call it garage. Okay, and probably make that concrete. Okay, and then we'll go over here and we'll make this one, this one's going to be new, proposed, and we'll call this one, I don't know, let's call it lobby. Okay, and this one's probably carpet too. All right. Now, so we've got categories here. We've got some existing, some demo, and some proposed. So we've got to fix the schedule, select the schedule, right-click, go selection add, and we're going to add those two rectangles. All right, so the schedule now is going to read those status categories. So I have proposed, demolished, and proposed again. Did I do two proposed? Oh, I did. Let's change this one up here to existing. Okay, there we go. And let's update the table. See, the table already shows that there's something that changed. So we'll update that now. All right, so we've got existing, demolished, and proposed. Now it's going to sort, this is something you can change, but it's going to sort by something we felt was more logical than, you could have existing, then proposed, then demo. You could sort that way. We just sorted it by what we thought most people would want, was by the room number. So that's just something to keep in mind. But here's the thing. Here's why I'm even discussing all this stuff, is that the table was designed to help you with some basic math. So for existing, you see the net change is 0. Nothing, that's existing. So the 3279 stays the same. Once we start demolishing, we start subtracting area from the total floor areas. So it's taking out the 245 square feet. Proposed becomes an additional amount. So we get a net change of 750. So you can quickly tell somebody, yeah, the overall square footage grew by 750 square feet. Like, this is the kind of stuff I would have expected to be built right into the software. In fact, I should see it probably on some kind of a table that's like the properties palette, but it's not there. And you can look through and see that they didn't design. They offered enough to give you the clues to build it yourself, but they didn't give you this. And this, to me, is fundamental architecture 101. So it's great that we offer these tools, but most likely you're going to want things slightly different. Everybody has a different way they want to do this kind of stuff, the fonts and so forth. So you'll probably have to reverse engineer a lot of things we offer, but at least you can reverse engineer these things. But let's get into how does it work. So putting data onto a rectangle requires that you attach that data somehow. And that means if we go to the Style Manager and we go down here to Documentation Objects and we go to Property Set Definitions, that's where the data lives. That's where you create it, that's where you delete it, that's where you modify it. This is the data that gets attached to other objects. So if we go in here, you can see right here there is a category for polyline objects. So we're trying to tell you this is the one, this is where the data is that you can stick on polylines. So if we double click on that and we go to Applies To, you'll see in here in this list of things that you can apply data to, we selected the things we intended that data to go to, polylines and 2D polylines. I don't remember why we omitted the 3D polyline. So you could go, if you draw 3D polylines, you could add that to the list, but for some reason we didn't. I can't remember. We also made this objects, not styles. I don't even think polyline is in here because it's not a style. It is only an object, so it needs to be on the objects. Okay, so that's it right there. As soon as you've done that, it knows that this data, even if you had nothing in here, it still knows that whatever this data stuff is about, it needs to go to those objects. You can also select all of them. That's something you could put on all objects. Now we get to the definition area. And most of these you should be able to figure out on your own. If they look like this icon, they're just manual things. And there's some redundancies in here in the sense that they use lists to work. So this discussion is not really going to be about how to do property data. I think I did another video on that, or I'll do one in the future. What I want to focus on is the status, because that is really important. So here you'll see there is a manual property. Like if I click here, I could do something like phase. Oops. I'm just writing this in to show you how you make this. So I could do something called phase, and I could run over here, and I could say, don't use the type of text, use a list. So you notice up here it says status is a list. That means it uses something else that is classified or categorized in AutoCAD Architecture as a list definition style. So we're going to look at that in a minute. I just want you to see how this stuff works. So we come over here, we have a list, and then there's some default set. No big deal. I'll take phase. Let's leave it for a minute. I'll probably pull it out later, but let's leave it for a second here. Now, this list lives over here under Schedule Table Styles. Oops, sorry, not there. Further down here, multi-purpose objects. Boom. There is the list definitions right there. Okay, and we should see one for status right here. You see, I also have one up here for floor finishes. Remember when I couldn't find carpet? I should actually go in there and add carpet. Oh, probably in caps. C-A-R-P-T. That would be nice to have in there. Okay, and apply. Boom. Now that's in the list. I'll show you in a minute or two. What I want to get to is the one here that says basic, status basic. All right, so here you see the what is it, 5 different categories: existing, proposed, demolished, replaced, and omitted. That's where the rectangle is getting that from. So I can go in here and I could add like phase. Like I could say phase, here I am doing it again, phase 2. Right, and then you could just write what that means over here. Now if I say apply and OK, and I go now to the rectangle, and I go over here to the status, I should see that there's a phase 2 option, and that is because I put that into the list. Notice that phase repeats here because I added it to the property definition set. So if that confuses you, let's go back, and let's see here. I told you I was going to get rid of it. Go to polyline. So down here, status, that's it. Where is the phase, right? So here's the phase that I added just quickly to show you how to make it. I set it to the list, and I didn't default it, but I could have defaulted it to, let's see, where's the default value? Finishes here, existing. I could default it to phase 2. So you can see how, and then also how do I want to do it in uppercase? Let's see, case upper, right? But it's kind of dumb because really what I've done is I've made another definition that just repeats off of the same list over here. When I showed you on the property palette here, right? So here is phase. And here is status. It's reading off that same list. So I don't know if you'd ever want something like that listed twice. You'd have a whole different list for it. But just to show you, and now I'm going to get rid of it because I don't want it in there messing with this demonstration. Let's go back, and let's go to polyline, and let's go to phase, and let's delete that out of there. Okay, and apply, and okay. All right, let's pick the rectangle, and let's not have phase on the list, because that doesn't work with our schedules. We never intended to have something in there. We'd have to change the schedules, and I'm going to show you that shortly here. So let me put this back to This was demolished, I believe. Yeah. All right, let's see if this is okay. All right, so we have existing, we have demolished, and we have proposed. How does the schedule understand the difference? This is the tricky part. So you get in here, you right click, you pick on that schedule, and you go to edit schedule table style. And you can go to the applies to, and you'll see that this has been designed to apply to, where are we here? There, polyline. It should probably be set to polyline 2, 2D. Interesting. I don't know why that wasn't set. They're basically the same. I'm not run into any problems with it not working, but probably should be set just to play it safe. But so that's why the schedule knows to read the polyline. And now we're going to go over to columns. And you'll notice the first column is going to look for the status value. So if I were to go to modify, what I'm going to see here is that it's looking to the property set called GT polylines, the one I showed you, is it's going to go to the property status and it's going to look for what information is listed there. Okay, so that's how it actually spits out the existing, demolished, or proposed. It is going into this list here, and it's looking for that setting, you might call it, right? It's saying proposed, so it knows that that's the data to put in. But when we get over to the other side, it gets a little more convoluted. That one's easy. So then we get the room. These are all the same. They're just reading stuff out of that data list. But when we get down to the area, you can see here we have areas that are negative. What's going on there? So we'll go to modify there, and then, yeah, this is where, if you're not into code writing, you're probably not going to like this. But there weren't any tools built into the product that would do this kind of stuff for you automatically. So we had to take what they offered and write some code that understands the difference between positive and negative floor areas. And that was done by just a little check formula here. Basically, it's checking to see if the room or the rectangle has a status of demolished. So you'll see here it's checking that particular statement. If it's equal to demolished, then take the area and multiply by a -1. So that turns it into this negative area. All right, that's all it's doing there, because nothing else. The existing and the proposed are going to remain as positive areas. So that's really all that's occurring there. But it required a little bit of code. But now you know how that functions. I won't get into how to write the code and all that. There are some helping tools over here on how to write code, this particular type of code. What is it called? It's not Lisp, maybe it's Diesel. I don't remember what they call this particular type of code in here. It's a very simple code. It's not Lisp. I don't think it is. It's VB. That's it. It's right here. VB script. Okay, Visual Basic. Yeah. So there you go. That's at the core of all of our area solutions. Is just a little bit of formula to make these schedules, do some pretty cool stuff. So I think that covers the basics of areas with rectangles. Now we need to go a little farther and a little deeper. So I'm gonna dump this, and I'm gonna pull it back up. All right. So the next phase of using AutoCAD architecture, I'll take you on my journey. My journey was not to go to spaces, even though this is mostly about spaces. My next phase of areas was to go here. We have an area for floor slabs, custom. I'll show you here in the content browser. So if you go to General Tools, you'll see we have floor slabs. So my mind, learning AutoCAD architecture way back when it first came out, was, well, I'm going to use I'm going to use a slab. If I'm making a floor slab, why don't I use that for my areas? So if we were to go in here, and I think there is a carpet one, let's see, laminated. I think there's a carpet in here somewhere. Tile, herringbone, maple. Oh, here we go. Yeah, there's gray. Boy, I can't find it. Don't see it. Stone finishes. Marble. Carpet loop one. There we go. Or commercial carpet gray one. Let's do that one. And I'm just gonna do the whole thing. Now you might want to do each individual office, but just for ease of demonstration, I'm just gonna do the whole darn building here. So I'm gonna go down here, and I'm snapping to that same outside area. I know that doesn't really make sense. You would do it to the inside, but we know what that area was. So I'm going to type in O and then enter. That closes up the area. So now when I select that and I go to my properties palette, you'd expect here to see area, right? Nope, nothing there about area. That's weird. Go to extended tab. Nope, nothing there. If you type in LI for list, what happened? LI. Well, I'm in the middle of something. LI. And then, oh, that is really weird. Why is it doing that? Here's my list. And if I do type in LI, here's my gross area and my net area. Of course, they're the same. There's no, there's no different. I haven't punched any holes or anything in it. So that's how you get it if you haven't done anything with properties. Weird, huh? You'd think it would be listed right over here on the design tab, just like it is with a rectangle, but no. All right, so what I did was early on, I learned how to attach a tag to this to get some data out of that, and we have that. So if you go to our general tools and you go to annotation, you should see floor slabs. So this is annotation for floor slabs, and then we have a whole list of things in there for just floor slabs. I will pull it up here on the left, so I'm going to go to annotation floor slabs, and then what you're going to see here is we have a whole list of different ways of working with just floor slabs for your areas and your room names and so forth. So let's see, something similar to the one I used before would be, let's see, there's residential. Let's use commercial. So I like this one here. And I'm going to go ahead and just pop that into this space right here and enter, and it probably shot off to my snap because I have my O snap on. So let's see, F8, F3, here we go, boom. All right, so that has now tagged the slab. If I pick here, go to extend the data, I will now see information came in the exact same way that it came in for that rectangle. You see now there's a pattern building. And so you've got your area here. There's a net and a gross area listed in there. And it's saying 3279. I hope that's the same as what we had before. I forgot, but I think that is correct. Okay, so yeah, just quickly here, we can go ahead and assign this some different values. So I can say room name. Let's make this thing office. Floor finish. Well, I already picked the floor finish, so that's hard written in there. Did I actually pick hardwood or did I pick carpet? Let's go right click here, edit the slab, materials, commercial grade carpet. I might have found a bug while doing this demonstration. Might have found a bug that I need to fix for the next release. Let's see here. Yeah, it's defaulting to hardwood. That definitely should say carpet. Oh, all right. We do have mistakes, and we fix them when we discover them. So yeah, I didn't like what I just did. Let me undo that. Okay, and let me go edit slab style. There's the material. Carpet. Huh. That really should have worked. That's very strange. All right, I'm getting bogged down by what appears to be a little bit of a bug, and I will fix that as soon as I do the demo here. So now let's see. Office, office, office. Okay, so in this particular case, the status is not controlled by a list box um, because there is something better in AutoCAD architecture called classification. So if we go here and we edit the slab style, and we go over to classifications, you'll see that most of our objects now are classified, and they're classified based on this status here. So this is how we're separating existing, proposed, and demo is through their classification definition tool. And you'll see here, this is automatically set to be a proposed carpet area. Now, if we wanted to change that, we might want to do a copy slab style and come in here, and at the end of this name, we might want to do something like, how about existing? We would add that so we can keep track of these different slabs by their status. And then we would go ahead and set this to, let's see, existing, right? So we now have this one. This is a different one. So if we do a slab style, there will now be two of them in there. And that's how you would track them if you're using slabs for doing this kind of stuff. This is different than doing spaces, however, kind of similar. All right, hey look, carpet showed up. I knew there was something weird. It should have done that right away, and it required just a modification to the style to update the data in there. So we go over here, see it says carpet now. So the bug is that it says hardwood, but there was no bug. The question mark would have cleared up, open and reload the drawing file. Okay, so we'll do, let's do another, let's do this. Let's go and add another one. Add is selected. We're going to change this one to the proposed and just draw a little bit of slab out here and then ortho. Okay, then we'll go ahead and tag that. Okay, and notice this drew in a strange way. The elevation should be 0. Otherwise, it'll show us something below. So the way we design our floor slabs is 0 is the top of the slab, so it automatically sits at the bottom of the walls. Just something to know. So this one says proposed, and we'll go ahead and assign this on extended tab. We're going to go ahead and call this one lobby. Okay, and I actually want this one to be, all right, proposed and existing, that's fine. We could do another one. Bring that over, make it bigger. Oh, let's just make it the same. That'll really test the math. So I'm going to do a copy of this. And I'm going to call this one, so add here to the end, this one will be demo. So it's a demo slab. I will do the classification to demo to be removed. And okay. And I will give this a different name. This will be a reception. All right, so this will test the schedule. So now, in the same list, you will see this is the commercial business category that we've set up on our floor slabs annotation. These are just annotation tools for floor slabs. There's a schedule that corresponds with this set. So that's the one you want to use. You just go ahead and grab them, go ahead and pop it in, and you'll see the schedule pop up. And it's going to look very similar to the one I showed you with the rectangles. Let's check the math here. Just come out 0. Good. The math works. No bug there. So we have the 32 as the net area. What did we do? We gained 199, but we also demolished 199, so it washes out. There's no net change. Now, this stuff works in a very similar way to what I did with the rectangles. So we'll go back to the style manager. Now, what I don't need to worry about for the status in this one is the how do I say this? In a rectangle, there's no such thing as a category because it's not an object and it's not an AEC object. So we had to use a list status to emulate a category. With AEC objects, we're not using a list to do it. We're actually using a classification. So you will see where the classifications are here. That's what we're using instead. And there is a GT status basic classification instead of a list. But it's going to look exactly like the list definition set. That might be a little confusing. It's just because the rectangle isn't as sophisticated an object. But here we have the exact same logic, and the applies to exact same logic. Now notice we have set this to apply to all the objects in AutoCAD Architecture because all of our objects are now, I think we got them all fixed, but there might be a few that haven't been set that will now, I think they all will come in automatically as new, which makes sense, right? Most people would be doing proposed work, so then you may have to change the categorization manually. Up here on property set definitions, the one we're looking at for that for the data that was assigned to the slab will be called GT slab objects for commercial business. So there's a different one for residential, and you could actually do a residential and a commercial side by side with different property set definitions in the same file. Most likely you're not going to do that, but so just be aware that it's been designed to just know that it's looking for commercial business room names. That's really what that's doing. Let's see, status, right? So we're looking at status. So in here you have status, and it looks for the, it's set to read a classification. So the source is right here. GT status basic. And notice what type of icon is right here. It's not this one, which is just a manual. That's the one I used for the rectangle when I made it phase 2. This is a manual thing. This one is actually looking for the classification, so there's a button for that. So if you go up here, it looks like this one right here. Add a classification property definition. So you pick on that, and then it's going to go and look for all the classifications in your drawing. And there's only one list, so that's easy. Then you pop that in, and it knows that that's the list you're wanting to read from. So then you really don't have much more to do than just sort of set uppercase or whatever you want here. I'm going to go ahead and delete that, though. Just wanted to show you how that is created. So that is now running out, and it's reading the classification that's down here, and that's where it's getting that list of 5 names. Now, keep in mind, this is like I'm showing you what happened with the rectangles. It's now all happening with floor slabs, or slabs, what they call them. And then we'll get to the next video, which I'll show you. This all happens again with spaces, and you know, so there's 3 different places that a similar kind of solution is being applied. But I won't be talking about list definitions for the status for any other objects. That was only for the rectangle. All the status settings are done by the classification that is right here. And we called it status basic. Okay, let's see if I'm missing anything else. So the schedule. If we go over and edit the schedule, you'll see it's going to look very much. That's why I like to start with that rectangle, because it's going to look just like the rectangle one. If you can understand the rectangle one, then this one's not going to be that much more difficult. So if we go to net area, modify, you're going to see same formula. Pretty much the same formula there. And the same concept. It's going in and it's looking for, was the status set to demolished, then multiply the area by -1. You know, not really complicated stuff. I think anybody could pretty much figure this stuff out with a little bit of time. The code is the worst. And it is so sensitive to the way it's written and the spaces in there. Oh, it's nutty as hell. But once you get one of these right, um, then you could just copy it. And there's solutions available. Just do some Google searches. Go to the Autodesk boards. Other people have written code that you can just copy paste kind of. And again, this series is not about writing the code. It's about doing areas. All right, so I think um, that's as far as I'm going to go in this first part. Next, we're going to take a look at the space objects. All right, I'm out.